and let's talk with you to review the latest pro wrestling news and results and cut of wrestling games today. Oh, that was perfectly timed to the music. How about that? Welcome to Wrestling Rants, folks. We are right back with another one of those laying the rant downs on a Tuesday. I originally was going to drop this yesterday in replacement of the Mega Rant Monday, which ended up being the Against All Odds rant. I think I dropped on Sunday. As things were, things got a little busy last night. Raw went a little long in the 2-3, and actually didn't even make it to the end of Raw, and I didn't make it to do this rant. So we are here on Tuesday for a double shot. We're going to be talking about all the industry news in Laying the Rant Down right now, and then we are also later on going to be doing a special top 10 takes where we're going to be looking at Forbidden Door coming up in just mere, what we got, about 11 days or something like that to the show, maybe 12 days. And not a lot of matches have been said, only 2. So we are going to do a top 10 takes of the 10 matches I would like to see and expect at Forbidden Door. So a little mix of kind of industry rumors of some of the matches that we might be seeing, as well as my own personal opinions on what I would like to see on the show. So be catching that later on tonight. Top 10 takes, Forbidden Door, must-see matches coming up ahead that we would like to check out on the big pay-per-view coming up just a week from Sunday. All right, let's get into the industry news with Laying the Rant Down. We got a lot of stuff to cover, so let's not waste any moments of further time here. And let's talk about, first off, major industry news that dropped pretty much yesterday about the exclusivity with WWE and Fox, as well as NBC Universal, who, of course, USA Network is part of that conglomerate. Well, the exclusivity to negotiate with WWE has now ended for not just Fox, which I believe ended, looking on the notes here, that window closed for Fox late May, but now as well, we have NBC Universal's exclusivity window with WWE has also concluded. So that means it's up for grabs for anybody in the industry to try to sign WWE to a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal. We'll see where it goes. Here are the latest rumors as it pertains to this. So the exclusivity period started around WrestleMania, which kind of explains why they announced the merger with UFC around that time, in an attempt to try to get that the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak, in negotiations. Well, during that time, they were negotiating with Fox, they were negotiating with NBC Universal. Now that period has ended, and that means, like I said, any other company can negotiate. This includes Disney, this includes Amazon, this includes Apple, and it even includes Warner Brothers Discovery, the home of AEW. So some interesting notes pertaining to these companies. According to the New York Post, which dropped this information, I think yesterday, Disney is actually kind of in the hunt here on a major level to get WWE signed. Not for what you would think it would be. Now, recollecting that the UFC has now merged with WWE, and recognizing that the UFC has a big deal with ESPN, with Disney, whatever you want to call the company. ESPN is a conglomerate of the Disney big corporation. UFC obviously has penetrated ESPN programming big time. They're on ESPN Plus. They're all over the place on ESPN networks. But Disney is not interested in putting WWE on ESPN content, for one reason, because of the other programming that they have, and their sporting events would change up basically like a regular schedule for WWE, meaning Raw may not always be on Monday nights, or SmackDown may not always be on Friday nights. So they've kind of taken a different approach at Disney where they are interested in WWE programming on the FX channel, which it's an interesting take. I was a bit surprised when I heard this news because you don't think pro wrestling, you don't think of FX, but that could very well become the new home of WWE, not just for Raw, but potentially for SmackDown, maybe even NXT as well, if they can make the right deal with the right people at Disney. So we'll see where that goes. Also, Amazon Prime is in talks with WWE. If you recall, Amazon Prime has a foothold of Thursday nights now with the NFL and Thursday Night Football. That is on Amazon Prime every single week. And they may try to do this with WWE as well in an attempt where you would not have any sort of programming coinciding with this move. It would always drop on Amazon Prime every single week. I kind of think that in terms of streaming stuff, I think this is a little bit premature for WWE to consider going on Amazon Prime. Because for one thing, not everybody has Amazon Prime. You'd have to pay a subscription to get the WWE content, and that may be a big barrier in that deal. Also, Apple has been rumored to be in discussions. I would assume that would be on Apple TV. Once again, a subscription-based streaming platform where I do not see that happening. Now, WWE can make a deal with Amazon Prime, or they can make a deal with Apple TV on an individual basis for a particular type of content, like, for example, NXT, or Main Event, the weekly show that is taped before Raw. It's some of those other WWE programming options. That is possible. The other suitor is Warner Brothers Discovery, which is a long shot, but there may be some interest. And an interesting little blip of information came in this New York Post article that, surprisingly, All Elite Wrestling is not an exclusive wrestling property of Warner Brothers Discovery, meaning AEW on their side I do not believe can negotiate with other networks for their programming. They're exclusive to Warner Brothers Discovery, but Warner Brothers Discovery is not exclusive in terms of the ability for WBD to negotiate with other wrestling companies. Now, this would be a huge twist and turn of events if Warner Brothers Discovery would take on WWE programming and drop Monday Night Raw and Friday SmackDown on either TBS or TNT. Boy, that would be a weird dynamic. I don't see it happening. I don't think Warner Brothers Discovery are in the major leagues of wrestling content. I don't think they have an interest in it. They're obviously loyal to AEW, as proven with the Collision coming up here on Saturday nights that they're invested in. But I think that's probably the long and short of it with Warner Brothers Discovery. I just do not see them taking on WWE programming at all. Just for reference, NBC Universal's deal with WWE is $265 million a year, and Fox's programming, which is just SmackDown, and WWE, $2.5 million a year. So we're going to see if WWE can get a better deal out of this. Nick Khan has been quoted as saying they're aiming to do a 1.5 increase, which means basically on a $2 million deal, you're going to get $3 million a year instead of $2 million. It's pretty audacious. We'll see if they can do that as they move forward with the WWE deals. Both deals apparently end October 2024. And I do believe that the NXT deal may end at the end of this year. So keep posted on that because NXT may be dropped from USA Network before the other programming, both on Fox and USA, maybe change hands to a different network or whatnot. All right, that's it for the WWE news with the industry exclusivity stuff with different networks and stuff. Let's go on to Collision. That's coming up this Saturday, and I will be there from Chicago for the return of CM Punk, the debut episode of Something Big Here. And I was at the first Nitro back in 1995, so I thought it was only appropriate that I make my way to Chicago for the first episode of Collision, since it kind of has tones of Monday Nitro, if you will. So some rumors going into the event here. As of last count, about 82 to 8,300 tickets are sold. There's a big arena, though, the United Center in Chicago. They're not anywhere close to sold out for this one. As it is right now, it's only about half capacity. So there's going to be some empty spots for sure on this show on Saturday. There may be a chance, a couple more thousand come into the fold before we get to Saturday. Time will tell. Lots depending on what they announce and do on AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. We'll see where they go with it. Because they have a lot of moving parts here trying to get a pay-per-view Forbidden Door set and lined up with just like basically a week left come Collision date here on Saturday. CM Punk and Ace Steel are expected to have some sort of role in creative along with Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. I'm still stuck on the Daniel Bryan thing a little bit. He's supposed to be having a hand in creative as well on this show. So it'll be interesting how that group of talent, Punk, Steel, Danielson, Punk and Danielson are still pretty close as far as I know, how they interact with Tony Khan and whoever else is going to be involved in creative on this one. There was an interview with Tony Khan, I believe it was yesterday, where he was quoted as saying there is not going to be a hard roster split for Collision. There may be certain talent that are featured more on Collision, at least to start, but the idea is to rotate these talents in and out between Dynamite and Collision on a pretty regular basis. So we'll see where that goes. I think time will tell. It's going to be dependent on how Punk can get along with the Elite crew and things like that. But honestly, I mean, you have Chicago set for Collision this Saturday, and also you have Dynamite set in Chicago the following Wednesday. I do wonder if they're going to try to get Punk on that show. And if they do try to get Punk on that show, what does that mean for the Elite? What does that mean for other people on the Dynamite roster? I don't know. I guess time will tell. We'll see if Punk shows up on Dynamite in Chicago as a follow-up to the Collision stuff. I would think they would need to do that or be proactive of them since they're still in Chicago. And even if you make an announcement on Collision that Punk will be at Dynamite in Chicago, maybe to do his first promo, that might be something to think about for AEW stuff. Kenta from New Japan is heavily rumored to appear at this show. Set something up with Punk at Forbidden Door. That's a dream match that has been years in the making, all tied into Kenta's finish to Go to Sleep, which Punk, of course, uses as well. There's a built-in storyline there that would fit in just perfect for Forbidden Door, so we'll see if they do it. Other talent that may appear either this Wednesday at Dynamite or on Collision on Saturday include the following names: Will Ospreay, Jeff Cobb, Zack Sabre Jr., Kushida, ELP, El Phantasmo, David Finlay, Tama Tonga. We talked about Kenta as a possibility. Ren Narita, Aaron Hanare, Shane Haste. Those are some names that would be available to appear this week on AEW programming. New Japan has some other stuff going on in Japan with some other talent like Okada, Tanahashi, etc., etc. They will not be able to appear this week. However, all hands are on deck the following week for Dynamite and for Collision, where any, and I mean any talent, could appear. And there really isn't much of an issue with visas getting into Canada. Word is that that's not such a big deal right now, that most talent can get into Canada without any visa issues. So that doesn't seem to be a barrier. There was some rumors that pertaining to Forbidden Door that Stardom talent may show up. There is no indication that's going to happen. I think there's a big Stardom show on that same day even in Japan. But it is possible they could get in like Kairi Sane or something like that, like a more notable name from Stardom, to appear at Forbidden Door. So stay tuned to that. We'll probably find out if that's possible or not pretty soon here in the pipeline. Also on Collision in Chicago on Saturday is going to be the first time Ring of Honor is taped with Collision. We saw some Ring of Honor tapings in Las Vegas at the Dynamite taping, and they've they've done that before on Dynamite, but this will be the first regular kind of thing where Ring of Honor and Collision are going to be taped together back to back. So, haven't announced any matches yet. I would assume they will on Thursday's Ring of Honor episode on what to expect here. But I'm guessing Kiera Hogan and Athena might have a rematch. And I could see Daniel Garcia and Katsuyori Shibata having a match for the Pure Championship as well on these Ring of Honor tapings. So, lots of stuff going on leading to Collision. We just have one match announced so far. That's, of course, that trios match is the main event. Punk and FTR against Samoa Joe and Bullet Club Gold. I would assume we'll have more match announcements on Dynamite on Wednesday. So that's it for Collision update. Let's get into the next item of note, and that is BJ Whitmer of AEW, formerly of Ring of Honor. He's been around in professional wrestling for quite a long time, but that time may be over. He was arrested on some pretty serious charges. First degree charge of strangulation. This is a domestic assault charge, which AEW has a policy. If there's any domestic charge, they're out of there. And also a second degree burglary charge. There's not a whole lot of information on this because it's still behind a grand jury investigation. So time will tell what is going to happen with this as far as what we find out about what this whole situation was all about. But he was arrested and got released on June 4th, and soon after that, AEW got wind of it. And he is done with AEW. He was a road agent and a producer backstage, but no longer is that the case. And he had a history in Ring of Honor as well. I think there was a little bit of controversy. He left Ring of Honor or was fired because he wanted to be a trainer at, I believe, the WWE Performance Center at one point. And I know there was some issues with some romantic relations or something where he was with Kelly Klein, who was the former Ring of Honor champion holder, and I can't remember if there was a domestic situation involving those two. There may have been something involving Joey Mercury as well, but there's just been a lot of controversy with BJ Whitmer throughout the years, and now it appears he is probably out of wrestling, maybe for good, on any level in any promotion. When you have burglary and a strangulation charge, it's pretty serious business here as it pertains to BJ Whitmer. All right, let's talk about some injury updates. There's some updates on talent we haven't seen on TV in a while. Drew McIntyre. Here's a few little news bits on him. He recently became a U.S. citizen officially. Went through the naturalization process here in the United States. Good for him. Also, he's been mourning the loss of his sister-in-law, his wife's sister, who passed away under some unknown circumstances, but there's been some time spent in the direction of mourning her loss. And there is a plan by WWE. This got dropped by PW Insider Elite subscription services, I believe yesterday I read, that WWE officials are trying to get a plan of action for Drew McIntyre to lead into Money in the Bank. I would guess this would mean probably an appearance at Money in the Bank since they are in London, England. It's going to be a sold-out, hot crowd, and having McIntyre return to the show would be a huge, great thing for WWE. As you know, his contract's up sometime later in the year. There was some rumors that he was having some issues with creative and things like that. So we're going to see where it goes, but there at least is a push to try to get McIntyre back in the company before or at Money in the Bank. How about Mercedes Moné? Let's talk a little bit about her. Not a whole lot of information has come out on what exactly happened in that match with Willow Nightingale, but one can assume she got a serious injury because just the other day on social media, I believe it was Sunday, she was posting some stuff and posted something about the sixth day of recovery, and they showed her leg, ankle, foot all up in a cast. So one can assume she probably had surgery, I'm guessing, on her ankle or her foot, and she's going to be out for a while recovering from the surgery. So don't expect her anytime soon. There was some rumors that she was supposed to be involved in Forbidden Door, very well possible. I hope to see her in AEW when she gets back on the road to health and recovery and is able to get back in the ring. I think she would be such a perfect fit for AEW in the women's division. They really need a boost, and I think Mercedes Moné would definitely cover that for sure. All right, let's get into our last little item of note here, and that is that I was going to be talking about the Impact spoilers from this past Saturday, coming off of that great show Against All Odds. They did a taping Saturday night in the same location, Columbus, Ohio. And unfortunately, I have not been able to find any information on what happened on that show. This is kind of a first on over the internet. I have never recalled a time where I could not find spoilers from an Impact taping. So I don't know what that means exactly, but it's a mystery what's going to happen in the next few weeks on Impact TV. What we do know is that these matches were announced ahead of time to happen at the tapings, so we can at least get an idea of what to expect in the next few weeks on Impact. PCO against Diener in a street fight. OVE against Brian Myers in the Good Hands in a six-man. Moose against Rich Swann. That's coming off Against All Odds, for sure. Eddie Edwards and Kazarian are teaming up again, even though they're feuding, in a match with Steve Macklin and Bully Ray. This might be some implications of some turns in that match. Taylor Wilde against Killer Kelly. The Design takes on Jonathan Gresham and Speedball Mike Bailey. And Joe Hendry defends the Digital Media Championship against Yuya Yamura. The only other thing that's been announced by Impact is that to kick off the show on Thursday is going to be a Motor City Machine Guns promo in the ring. Obviously following up from both of those guys winning singles titles at Against All Odds. Alex Shelley winning the World Championship. Chris Sabin winning the X Division Championship. So one would think that Nick Aldis will get in the mix of that opening promo. Probably set the stage for Slammiversary, where we see Nick Aldis challenging Alex Shelley for the World Championship. And who knows what they're going to do with Chris Sabin in the X Division, but I would love to see another match with Sabin and Speedball Mike Bailey at Slammiversary. They had a match in Chicago at those last tapings I went to that was fucking awesome. So we'll see where they go with it. That's just my thought, my prediction, my hope, my wish for the X Division match at Slammiversary. And that is it for Laying the Rant Down. We talked about all the industry news and then some this week. So stay tuned. Come back later. Top 10 takes. We're going to be looking at the top 10 matches I hope and expect and want to see at Forbidden Door to add to that card, which already has two really great top-tier main event matches in Danielson and Okada and Ospreay and Omega. But there is plenty more talent on each side that is ready to go for this show. So we're going to talk about it and speculate on some matches that I hope to see at Forbidden Door. All right, everybody, come on back for more Wrestling Rants later on tonight. See you right back here for some more Wrestling Rants, baby!